take number one. And after the college football season has ended with Championship Saturday, the official and first ever 12-team college football playoff bracket has officially been set. The selection committee came to a conclusion, and everything was announced at 11 a.m. on Sunday morning. And it is as follows: the number one seed, the number one team in the country, the only undefeated team, the Big Ten champion, Oregon Ducks, get the number one seed and a first round bye. In the quarterfinal round, they will play in the Rose Bowl on January 1st. The number two seed, the SEC champion, Georgia Bulldogs, also, getting in the mix. They finish 11-2 on the season after beating Texas for the SEC championship. They will play in the All-State Sugar Bowl in New Orleans on January 1st. The third seed, the Boise State, what is it, the Broncos, Mustangs, I think they are. Boise State Broncos. Shout out to those guys, man. They'll play in the Fiesta Bowl as the number three seed, 12-1 on the year. That'll be on December 31st. That game will be, all of these games will actually be on KATC. So New Year's Eve and New Year's Day will be a busy day for KATC. And finally, the number four seed is the Arizona State Sun Devils at 11-2. Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl will be their quarterfinal game that they will play in after they won the Big 12 championship, which their story is pretty amazing because they were picked dead last coming into this conference and won it all. So big shout outs to those guys. Your first round playoff games are as followed. Texas will host a home playoff game against the Clemson Tigers in Austin on December 21st. That game will be at 3 o'clock p.m. Central Time. It will be on TNT and HBO Max. And then your 8-9 matchup. This one is going to be really, really good. Ohio State and Tennessee, both 10-2 ball clubs. That game will be on ABC ESPN on December 21st at 7 o'clock p.m. And then your 6-11 matchup, Penn State, SMU being one of the last teams in and Alabama not getting in. I think the Mustangs put up a great fight there in the ACC championship, and they deserve to be in. Dabo Swinney even said it after the game, and they get in. They will go to Happy Valley to face off with the Nittany Lions on the 21st. That will be the first game of the day at 11 a.m. on TNT. And then finally, Notre Dame and Indiana will go at it in South Bend on December the 20th. I believe this is a 7 o'clock kickoff. Will also be ESPN ABC matchup. So, Elijah, a pretty interesting 12-team bracket. But do you feel like the committee got it right? You know, I think Alabama was one of the first teams out. Ole Miss, South Carolina, some other guys that didn't make it in. And then obviously, you know, the SEC getting 1, 2, 3 teams in the mix in this playoff bracket this year. So fairly balanced. Do you feel like the committee got it right? And then what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I think the committee got it right. I seen people talking about strength of schedule. Why does that play a part? Alabama had a strength of schedule that was pretty tough. Well, let me tell you something. Alabama lost 3 games, right? Think about those 3 losses that they had. Vanderbilt, they lost to Tennessee, and the last one I think was
Oklahoma, where they didn't score a touchdown.
Oklahoma. As good as Alabama has been and was this year, losing to 2 teams that wasn't even ranked or considered, really good. Vanderbilt was decent. Vanderbilt had a really good year, but they weren't, one of the top teams in the SEC. Neither was Oklahoma. So them losing those 2 games should just tell you something. And they lost those games where, for Oklahoma they didn't score a touchdown. Vanderbilt upset on the road, and then you went back and lost to Tennessee the week right after. So again, it's like what do you expect the committee to do? There's a lot of competitive teams. Miami, they were out. Um, who else was it for? Ole Miss was out. So it's like those are great. These are good teams that that has a lot of potential and some draft stock on their team that can be selected in the first round of next year's draft. But at the same time, like you got to think about it, man, because the committee did a great job of putting this stuff together. SMU deserved to be in there. Clemson, they deserved to be in there. South Carolina, who's the first one out, I thought they had a fair chance of being in there. But with these, what is it, 14 teams, 12 teams? With these 12 teams, I think they all right, and then they got some juggernauts for the first round matchup as well. I can't wait to see Texas atmosphere of hosting a playoff game. Now I get that they're gonna have a neutral site against Clemson. Clemson fans do travel, but I'm ready to see how Austin holds it down. I'm ready to see how Ohio State hold it down. I'm ready to see how these first round matchups go because at the end of the day, man, this is the future. This is what we're about to see from here until probably 2073. Like this is where we're at with it. This is where we at with it. So I can't wait to see that. I think the committee got it right. Its strength of schedule is something that they're gonna have to start honoring. I hope that the SMU's and the Boise States do play more competitive teams next year. But right now, man, as this is the first year that things getting started, I think they got it right, and I can't wait to see how everything turns out because it's real football now. You're one and done. It's real football.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Here's the thing. The committee was in a lose-lose situation on either side. If they put Alabama in, then people would say the value of conference championships mean nothing, which people would have started arguing to not have conference championships anymore. And that devalues everything that college football is about, which is playing for championships. That means you get rid of the Sun Belt Championship. You get rid of the Mountain West Championship. You get rid of all of the Conference USAs, like all the G5 championships, AAC. You could get rid of all of those because at that point it's like it doesn't matter. But then also if you don't put in, like I said, if you wouldn't have put in SMU, that's your argument. By not putting in Alabama, now people are going to say strength of schedule. But I truly believe that you reward the people that have earned it. Like SMU clearly is a good football team because they were down 24-7 or 21-7 at one point in that game and came all the way back to tie the football game. And the only reason that they lost it was because a college kicker was able to make a 56-yard kick. Like you kind of got to have to just tip your hat to that. Like if he misses that kick, they're in overtime, and who knows what would happen at that point. Now, I will say that my crazy self was yelling at the TV, go for two, but that's probably why I'm not a head coach because I'm always thinking, wow, do it. Just let's make it happen. Um, like we said, teams like Miami, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Alabama. Alabama was actually ranked number 11 in the AP poll and didn't make it in. BYU didn't make it in either. So uh, it's interesting, man, but I agree with you. The committee got it right. Um, and I think that this is only the tip of the iceberg of what the playoffs may truly look like. Uh, I don't know what it would be to add. What would that be? Three more teams? Would that be no? You'd have to add in six more teams to make it another even playoff. So that would be an 18 team playoff system. Who's to say that that doesn't happen in the next 10 years? Maybe. I think the playoffs is definitely something that's here to stay. Um, and I think that it's good for college football because it gets those guys ready for what they're going to do in the NFL. Like you're going to have to play in the playoffs in order to go and win a championship, the big one that matters. Um, it will also sort of devalue bowl games as what we know them as, like the Texas Bowl and the Reliant Quest Bowl and all of those bowl games like that will basically become obsolete at that point. Especially if you continue to add on to the CFP. But this is all good for college sports. I'm excited to see what those first games are going to look like. The first one of the postseason will be Notre Dame and Indiana. Um, so that should be a good one, man. Marcus Freeman and his crew, Indiana, with their only loss being to Ohio State. That's going to be a really good one. SMU going on the road, proving that they can play in big games where they were just basically on the road playing against Clemson in the ACC championship. And then Tennessee and Ohio State, two really good quarterbacks in Nico and Will Howard. And then finally, like you said, Texas and Clemson. Man, you talk about atmospheres. Austin, Texas is going to be different for that one. I might have to just pull up on that one myself just to look and see, but uh, it's going to be fun. Um, and then, of course, the teams that got the first round buys, Oregon, rightfully so. Georgia, rightfully so. I mean, after the type of run that they, went on in the season, it was at one point that these guys were like outside of the top 15 in the AP poll, I think it was. And I think it was either the week before the first CFP rankings came out or the first week where they weren't even in it. To do that and to come all the way back and get the number 2 seed, It's just setting the table for a very interesting run of what could potentially be a national championship run for the Dogs. Obviously, Kirby Smart gets there at the podium and says that Greg Sankey put them all on the road and all this stuff, even though like they only had 4 road games. Like I know they had neutral sites and all this stuff like that, but Kirby Smart is going to make adversity the best way he can because he knows he's got to put a chip on the shoulder of these guys to keep them hungry. So we shall see. The college football playoffs begins December the 20th, and it will run all the way to the national championship, which I believe it's like January the 15th or something like that. It'll be a fun one. We shall see how it all turns out as we go here into the postseason now with the college football playoffs. So thank you so much for watching this clip of the Fitz Take podcast. Be sure to like this video and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also follow me and Elijah on our social media platforms. They will be linked down in the description. And remember, every episode of the Fitz Take podcast will air right here on the YouTube channel every Monday at 2 p.m. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.